A recent report has come out from The Athletic highlighting a potential blockbuster trade that the Toronto Maple Leafs might be looking to do regarding Matt Dumba and Chris Tanev. So I'm going to break down this report and discuss what it means for the Toronto Maple Leafs because it gets pretty crazy. We also have a Joseph Woll injury update, so stay tuned for all that in this episode. Before we do, though, quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 6,500 subscribers, and your guys' support has been unbelievable. Now, Darius, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the first topic, which is a blockbuster trade could be incoming here. And this is from The Athletic, and it highlights a bit of a wild one, so bear with. There's a lot of stuff, too, because the Leafs date their interest of Dumba or to Dumba dates back to all the way in the summer before they signed John Klingberg. But let's just start with the report from The Athletic. Feel free to go read the article as well. I believe it is paid, though. But what it has inside at the Arizona Coyotes, their kind of mock trade and report here is that the Coyotes trade Matt Dumba and a 2024 second-round pick to the Maple Leafs for Toronto's 2024 first rounder. Now, there's also a side piece to this trade, but let's just start with this. And let's take this in a nutshell here. What are your thoughts on this trade? So you're getting a second-round pick, and you're getting Matt Dumba in exchange for the Maple Leafs first rounder. Matt Dumba's an interesting name to discuss, and we're going to do his stats and stuff soon, and then a potential kind of side, like I said, a side note of this trade. What are your thoughts on Matt Dumba? There's been a lot of juice and drama regarding this on Leafs Twitter. A lot of Leafs fans, some love it, some don't. What are your thoughts on giving up your first, not for Chris Tanev, at least yet, but for Matt Dumba?
Well, at least, when we look at all the mock trades we have been looking at the last little while, this one makes a little bit more sense to me because the value you're getting for the first round pick is pretty good. Arizona's second round pick is going to be a good second round pick. It's going to be a high pick. And you're getting Matt Dumba in return too. I would just be careful because he is obviously a UFA at the end of this year, but he's on a pretty decent contract, 3.9 until the end of this year. So not a crazy cap hit. You could definitely make it work if you're the Leafs. And if you can somehow re-sign him, I think that's, you're getting a pretty good deal there. So I don't hate that mock trade. I feel like there could be a little bit more involved, and I'll get into that in a second. But in terms of Matt Dumba himself, I've always liked the player. I think he could help the Leafs. I know it's a large ask with the first round pick, but like I said, getting a second round pick back kind of evens it out a little bit. It doesn't hurt as much. Hasn't had the greatest season, only 9 points this year in 51 games, which is not fantastic. But again, playing on a really bad Arizona team who's lost 10 in a row and play the Leafs tonight. So clearly he's going to score tonight against the Leafs. But still a pretty serviceable player. And again, right shot defenseman, which is what the Leafs need more of.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, again, is the second round draft choice, which is the Coyotes one, and the Coyotes are really bad, so it'll be very low in the second round, which is pretty close to a first round, and the Leafs are very good. So, you're not giving up too much to get Dumba. Obviously, Dumba, does he move the needle and make the Toronto Maple Leafs a Stanley Cup contender? Probably not, and you're giving up your first. It's kind of hard to say you're giving up your first. In a nutshell, you are, but you're also getting back. It's kind of like, I feel like it's almost like giving up, I don't even know, like a second round pick. I don't know if the value, how it would kind of.
You're really only dropping 8 spots or something. Yep. I'd feel like, because Arizona's not great, so it's not a huge drop off. I think that makes more than enough sense, because for Arizona, you're giving up a guy who's a UFA, might leave anyway.
And that's the exact, and I don't know how much value Dumba in itself holds, so I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting thing, like you mentioned, only 9 points, a little bit of a cap hit, and if you date back here, you can see this, and this is from Mick Maz on Twitter. He said, seeing the Leafs being interested in trading for Matt Dumba makes the fact that they chose not to sign him this summer and instead go with John Klingberg all the more baffling. And the report came out that the Maple Leafs wanted defenseman Dumba during free agency, and I'll be curious to see how it would look different at all if Dumba was here. Obviously, in hindsight, Dumba would have been the better fit right-handed shot defenseman who was more defensive-minded than Klingberg, who is obviously now a complete wash this season. Now, let's just quickly look at this, and then they say Toronto flips that second rounder to the Calgary Flames for Chris Tanev, that second rounder being the Arizona Coyotes second rounder. Now, this makes some sense. Now, obviously, the trade wouldn't be a second rounder straight up for Tanev. You got to make salaries work and all that. But it becomes very interesting now, because we know yesterday, if you watched our video, we covered that the reports are that the Leafs are offering a bundle of picks. They obviously don't have their second, but they're not offering their first, so a third, a fourth, a fifth, whatever they have. I don't know the exact picks they have. But now if you're adding this second rounder in, and no one else is offering the Flames a first rounder, this is as close to a first rounder as you're going to get if you're the Calgary Flames, because it's the Coyotes pick. This makes all the sense in the world to me. Will it happen? I don't know. Probably not. But does this make as much sense to you as it does to me? I think this. It seems pretty makes sense here. You get Dumba and you get Tanev.
It certainly makes more sense. It's really good asset management, because if you look at it, the entire mock trade with flipping the pick to Calgary, you're essentially getting Matt Dumba and Chris Tanev for a first, which we were talking about. Don't trade your first for Chris Tanev. But hey, if you're getting Chris Tanev and Matt Dumba, it hurts a little bit less, because Now you're looking at a right side of Timothy Liljegren, right shot defenseman Chris Tanev, and Matt Dumba. You have all right shot defensemen down the right side, and then obviously the Leafs have way too many left shot defensemen. But your defensive core is looking a lot better, and I mean that moves Benoit down to your third line. That moves McCabe. Probably he'll be a second pairing defenseman there. Who knows if they even break it up? This is all hypothetical, break up the lines, but it really makes the defensive core look a lot better, like a lot better. And you're not giving up. I know you're giving up the first round pick, but you're adding quite a bit of value. But again, two UFAs, you have to make sure that they're going to resign. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch to see what they do because I like we've said, I don't know if that's a road they should go down, but if they are going to go down it, I mean, you have to make sure that you are confident that you can re-sign them. So it's going to be interesting. One last thing I wanted to mention too before we move on, involving the Arizona Coyotes is Lawson Krause. I saw a lot of like stuff flying around on Twitter yesterday. Oh, it'd be a perfect fit for the Leafs, this and that. So if they are able to kind of bring him over, it's going to cost a lot more. Let's make that clear. But if they're able to bring him over from the Coyotes, maybe on retained salary, which might hurt because he's signed until 2027. He's on not that bad of a contract too in the same area, about $3 million, $4 million. So I think that'd be interesting to watch too because he's not a bad player. 31 points in 54 games on a terrible Arizona Coyotes team. And he would add a little bit more of the grit that we're talking about that Brad Treliving's trying to add to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I don't know. I think that'd be interesting to take a look at and keep an eye on. I don't know if that would happen, but it'd be interesting. Lawson Krause as a Leaf would be pretty cool.
Very, very interesting. I mean, this whole trade is interesting, and we'll ignore this. I know a lot of Leafs fans. I saw this. We're talking about how if it was even possible to make the cap work with all this. I'm not going to dive into how that's all going to work because I mean, if they get it done, they get it done with all the players and all the retained stuff. But I think, in the end of the day, a first rounder for Dumba and Tanev makes a lot more sense than giving up a first rounder for just Chris Tanev in itself, given the fact that they are both UFAs. So let us know what your thoughts are on that, and if you're a bit upset that they chose John Klingberg over Matt Dumba now that we're in hindsight. But let's quickly touch on an injury update before we wrap up. Joseph Woll, we have some good news on him. You can see that the Maple Leafs announced today that Joseph Woll has been assigned to the Toronto Marlies on a conditioning loan. The goalie situation has been interesting. I mean, no one's really talking about it because Samsonov and Martin Jones have been playing well enough to where they're 8-2 in their last 10. Hopefully, going to go now 9-1, or I don't know. They're going to win another game, hopefully, tonight against the Coyotes. You can never know, and this will probably age horribly tomorrow. But what are your thoughts on this? Joseph Woll looks like he's nearing a return. I mean, we thought after the All-Star break, who knows at this point how long he's going to be out, but conditioning loan, it's looking good.
Yeah, it is looking good, and it signifies that he's getting really, really close to returning to the Maple Leafs like full-time roster. Because obviously he's been practicing and he's been back on the ice for quite some time, but obviously he's feeling good enough to practice with the Marlies, and he might even get into a game. We'll see how that plays out. He might not, like with Samsonov, he might just be working out with them and getting on the ice with them, but we'll keep an eye on it in the next couple of days. But it's nice to see. He should be coming back soon, probably by March, so that's good. And I think, as good as Martin Jones has played, he's probably the odd man out just because of salary cap, and it's just going to be easier to send them down to the Marlies. And obviously Samsonov is back. I mean, he's playing great, so yeah, I don't think it's a question that's who's going to go down. I think it is Martin Jones once Joseph Woll comes back. But that's a good thing. That is a really good problem to have. Who are you going to send down? All three guys are playing great, so it's going to be fun to see Joseph Woll back.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, but you kind of answered the question there, and it's crazy to believe just a month or two ago, Ilya Samsonov was placed on waivers and clear. I'm sure there's a lot of teams out there now may have wished they claimed him. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know what your thoughts are on all of this and this crazy trade that has been proposed by The Athletic, and we will see you guys in tomorrow's video.